Some of the greatest battles in your life will never be visible to anyone else. They take place in silence, when you lay your head on the pillow and feel like you have no control over tomorrow. The truth is, nobody prepares us for that feeling of being lost, of living on autopilot, of waking up each day repeating the same motions without any clarity about where we want to go. That silent emptiness is the weight that drains the most energy from a person. It's not a lack of opportunity, it's not a lack of intelligence. It's a lack of direction, and that is the dividing line between ordinary people and those who leave a lasting mark on the world. Clarity of purpose. When we don't know what our North Star is, any distraction can sweep us away. Life becomes a cycle of automatic responses. Wake up, work, try to survive, waste energy on small worries. And so days turn into months, months into years, and suddenly you realize you still haven't built anything that truly expresses who you are. The masters of the East always understood this. For them, external chaos was never the real enemy. The enemy was always within. The undisciplined mind, the fragmented attention, the inability to look inward with honesty. Lao Tzu once said that governing an empire was easy, but governing oneself was the hardest task of all. That sentence isn't poetry, it's diagnosis. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change the world around them without realizing the greatest battlefield is inside. This is where practical philosophy comes in. Not the distant academic kind filled with complicated words, but the kind that serves as a manual for life. The kind of philosophy you apply in traffic when someone cuts you off and you choose not to waste energy on useless anger. The kind of philosophy you use when you get unfair criticism at work, and instead of reacting impulsively, you take a breath and answer with clarity. This type of philosophy is what can save you from drowning in a noisy world. Think about it. A samurai didn't train with his sword just to win fights. He trained to discipline his mind. The strike was only the reflection of a focus forged day after day. In the same way, we need a path that brings us back to what matters. Because when life throws doubts, crises, and difficulties at us, motivational quotes won't sustain us. What sustains us are clear principles we can apply in practice. Today, we live in a time when information has never been more abundant, yet wisdom has never been so scarce. You can access millions of videos, courses, and books in seconds and still live without direction. That's because information overload isn't clarity, it's noise. What changes lives isn't knowing more but applying better. It's not chasing everything. It's consciously choosing what really matters. The problem is that we've been conditioned to believe we need a lot in order to start. Lots of resources, lots of time, lots of certainty. That's a trap. Practical philosophy shows us that true growth begins small in everyday life and only later expands into great achievements. If you can't master a simple habit, like waking up early or dedicating 15 minutes a day to learning, you will struggle to handle bigger responsibilities when they appear. Life is generous to those who prepare, but relentless to those who insist on improvising. That's why so many intelligent people can't seem to move forward. They have talent, they have potential, but they're trapped in cycles of distraction, comparison, and empty promises. Meanwhile, those who cultivate quiet discipline advance step by step, and suddenly they look like they got lucky. But it wasn't luck. It was applied philosophy. And here, before we go any further, let me make an invitation. If this theme resonates with you, if you feel the need for more clarity and purpose, subscribe to this channel. This space was created to be more than just videos. It's a path, a journey. Every piece of content here is designed so that you can take away something immediately applicable. No fluff, no illusions. You don't need magic formulas. You need awareness. The question we need to face is simple. What foundation are you building your life on? Because every construction, no matter how beautiful it looks, will collapse if the foundation is weak. And in this case, the foundation isn't money, status, or external approval. The foundation is your ability to manage your mind, to find clarity in the noise, to choose what's truly worth your attention in a world full of distractions. The first act of our reflection is to recognize the problem, the lack of direction and purpose that silently drains people's energy. You may not notice it right away, but every day without clarity is like laying a brick out of place. And when you look back, you'll see you've built a castle made of sand. Time doesn't wait and life doesn't offer rehearsals. This is the starting point for everything we're about to build together. The greatest conflict you will ever face is not in the job market, nor in the economy, nor in the doubts and criticisms of others. The true conflict is inside you, in the constant battle between who you are today and who you know you could become. There is always a gap between your current self and your ideal self. That gap can either become a bridge or an abyss, depending on how you choose to deal with it. Eastern philosophers have long taught that the internal enemy is far more dangerous than any external one. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary samurai, wrote that defeating 1,000 enemies in battle meant nothing compared to conquering oneself. The war against laziness, fear, procrastination, and the desperate need to please others at the cost of your own truth. That is the war that defines the human journey. Today, we live in a world that turns distraction into addiction. Social media, endless entertainment, constant news, and quick fixes. None of these things are evil by themselves. The danger is when they become an escape, an anesthetic against the discomfort of emptiness. Have you noticed how easy it is to stay busy all day and yet accomplish nothing meaningful? That is movement without direction. And movement without direction is not progress, it's just agitation. This is the central conflict of modern life. We confuse being busy with moving forward. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said that life is not short, but we make it short when we waste it on what doesn't matter. This is the root of modern anxiety, the sense of always chasing something, yet never arriving anywhere. And don't think this only happens to the disorganized or unfocused. High achievers suffer from it too. Entrepreneurs, creatives, engineers, even scholars. They fill their schedules, juggle projects, enroll in multiple courses, but live in a permanent state of fragmentation. Their minds never rest because they're constantly pulled from one demand to the next. This fragmentation doesn't just steal productivity, it robs joy, depth, and the ability to be present in life. Practical philosophy shows us that the real issue isn't how much we do, but whether we have a central principle guiding us. Without a compass, every wind can blow us off course. A samurai could face multiple enemies at once and still remain calm because he had absolute clarity on what mattered, preserving life, honor, and discipline. That same clarity is missing in most lives today, and here is where the conflict intensifies. Inside us, there's a voice that whispers sabotage. It says, "You're not good enough, you'll fail again, you don't have discipline." This voice grows louder every time we compare ourselves to others. Since childhood, we've been trained to measure our worth against the success of those around us, the classmate with higher grades, the cousin with the better job, the friend who looks happier on social media. These comparisons become heavy chains that keep us from seeing our own progress. But here lies a forgotten truth. The only comparison that matters is the one you make with yourself. What did you do yesterday, and how can you do it a little better today? That's the question that leads to true growth. Zen masters often said, 1 inch each day is enough to walk 1,000 miles. You don't need miracles. You need consistency. Consistency, however, requires a discipline that our age resists. We've been trained for instant gratification. Buy something online and get it today. Stream an entire season overnight. Post a picture and receive likes instantly. This conditioning makes us impatient. We expect quick results, and when they don't come, we quit. Yet everything of true value is built slowly, quietly, day by day. And so the great paradox emerges. Life requires patience, but the mind craves speed. Life requires focus, but the world offers constant distraction. Life requires authenticity, but society pushes us to wear masks. Living inside this contradiction creates frustration, anxiety, and a sense of emptiness that no achievement seems to fill. This is why so many people, even after achieving status and wealth, still feel incomplete. They win external battles, they secure jobs, buy houses, accumulate titles, but they lose the internal war, the war of self, because none of those achievements can replace a deep clarity of purpose. But here's the opportunity hidden inside the conflict. Discomfort can become fuel. Restlessness is not your enemy. It is the signal that something inside you refuses to settle. In philosophy, they called it the pain of awakening. It's the moment you realize you can't keep living on autopilot. It's the call to take responsibility for your path. The solution is not to eliminate conflict, but to transform it. Fear can become a compass, pointing toward the growth you've been avoiding. Doubt can become an invitation to learn. Pain can become a teacher. Practical philosophy teaches that life's trials are not obstacles, but training grounds. The real question is, what do you do when you're tired, when motivation disappears? That is where growth is decided. Motivation is fleeting, but discipline is forever. The samurai didn't fight because they were inspired. They fought because it was their duty, and that sense of duty, cultivated day by day, made them unshakable. The conflict of modern life is real, and it surrounds us daily. But it is in that very conflict that the seed of transformation lies. Recognizing the battle within is the first step to victory. And contrary to what many think, you don't need to win it all at once. You just need to win today. Win this moment. Tomorrow's victory will be the natural consequence. If the first step was to recognize the absence of direction, and the second was to face the inner conflict that keeps us stuck, then now we arrive at the most important stage: transformation through practice. Philosophy, when it isn't applied, becomes nothing more than elegant theory. Real philosophy is alive only when it shows up in your daily choices, in the way you respond to your own mind, in the discipline you practice when no one is watching. Eastern masters repeated endlessly, practice is the path. It doesn't matter how many books you read, how many podcasts or videos you consume, how many inspirational quotes you memorize. None of it replaces the discipline of practice. A warrior doesn't become skilled by merely studying the art of the sword. He must pick up the blade, feel its weight, and repeat the motion until it becomes part of his being. The same is true of personal growth. What matters is not what you know, but what you embody. So how do we embody practical philosophy in a modern life that seems chaotic and overstimulated? The answer begins with small, deliberate rituals. The human mind needs anchors. The samurai had them, rising at the same hour, caring for their weapons, keeping their environment in order, training their body and posture. These rituals were more than routines. They were declarations of inner discipline. You don't need to be a samurai to practice the same principle. Choose 3 anchors for your day. First, a moment of silence, whether meditation, breathwork, or simply sitting still, to train the mind. Second, a physical commitment, exercise, walking, stretching, to strengthen the body. Third, a moment of creation or study, reading, writing, building, to feed the spirit. Mind, body, and spirit, these are the 3 pillars of balance. The Stoics added another practical tool, premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of adversity. Each morning, they would imagine potential difficulties, not to live in fear, but to prepare for life's storms. Ask yourself, what obstacles might I face today, and how do I want to respond when they come? By rehearsing challenges mentally, you create resilience. Life will no longer surprise you so easily because you've already trained your response. Another vital principle is mastering your attention. In this era, attention is the most valuable resource you own. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If you give it away to constant noise and endless comparison, your energy is drained. Training attention means bringing your mind fully into the present moment. If you eat, then eat with awareness. If you read, read with focus. If you listen, truly listen. Presence has become so rare in the modern world that cultivating it instantly sets you apart. Growth also depends on constancy. Greatness is not built on sudden explosions of motivation, but on small victories repeated over time. Think of planting a tree. The soil may be fertile, the seed may be strong, but without consistent watering, the tree withers. Your life is no different. Each habit you nurture is like watering that seed. At first it may feel invisible, but one day you look back and realize you've grown a forest. And here lies a misunderstood truth. Real freedom doesn't come from the absence of structure, but from creating your own. When you define your principles, when you draw your lines, when you learn to say no to what distracts you, you step into a new kind of power. The world no longer dictates your pace. You begin to live by your own compass. At its heart, practical philosophy is about returning to what is essential. The essential is not having more. It's being more. It's not accumulation. It's simplification. It's not chasing everything. It's choosing wisely. The essential is asking yourself, am I living in alignment with the person I want to be? If the answer is no, then the time to change is not tomorrow, not someday when everything is perfect. It is now. The only real moment is this one. This resolution is not hidden in temples or locked away in secret traditions. It is simple, but it demands courage. Courage to take responsibility. Courage to choose a direction. Courage to let go of what no longer serves you. Philosophy doesn't remove the storms of life, but it teaches you how to walk through them with strength and dignity. And let me say this clearly, you don't have to walk alone. Growth is not a solitary path. Sharing insights, exchanging perspectives, learning together, these are part of the journey. That is the purpose of this channel. To create a community where people committed to clarity, discipline, and purpose can walk together. If you've made it this far, you are already part of this community. So let's end with a reflection. The inner conflict you carry can either be your prison, or it can be the fire that forges your best self. That choice is always yours. Transformation doesn't demand perfection. It demands willingness. Willingness to take small, consistent steps in the direction of purpose. Time will pass anyway. The real question is, who will you become while it does? And now, I want to leave you with one final gesture of connection. If you stayed with me until this point, write the word clarity in the comments. That way, I'll know you are one of the few who not only listened, but committed to walking forward with awareness.